Hey, Gemma, how have you been? It feels like it's been ages since we last caught up. Life has a way of keeping us busy, doesn't it?
Hey, Barbara. How have you been? Yeah, it has really been so long since we talked. I wonder when the last time was.
Oh, yeah. Now that you mention it, I think our last conversation might have been around the time Andy decided to leave the soccer team. That was a significant event, wasn't it? So, if my memory serves me right, it's been approximately 6 months since we last caught up. Time sure does fly. Is Daniel still on the team?
Yeah, he's still playing. He was really upset when Andy left. He said it wasn't the same, not playing with him.
Oh, is that so? Andy surely was the soul of the team after all.
Anyway, how are things? Is there something you wanted to talk about?
Well, it's not something super important or anything, but you know how Andy applied to a bunch of colleges a while ago, right? Well, we heard back from them.
Oh, yeah. I remember you telling me. Did he get accepted into any?
Oh, absolutely. Let me tell you, he got accepted into every single school he applied to. It's no surprise, really. He's got that special something that just makes him stand out from the rest. I mean, who wouldn't want him? His academic achievements, extracurricular involvements, and remarkable personality make him a top-notch candidate. It's like he has that golden touch, turning every college application into an acceptance letter. Simply put, he's a force to be reckoned with when it comes to getting into these prestigious institutions.
Wow! That's amazing! Going to a top school would be a real honor. Congratulations!
I wouldn't expect anything else from our boy. We put so much time and money into his studies to prepare. We hired private tutors for every subject. We made him study until past midnight every night. If he didn't get into any of those schools, I would have kicked him out of the house.
Wow, I had no idea about that. It must have been really hard for him to study that much.
For him, not at all. My husband and I were the ones who had it rough. We had to dig deep into our pockets to hire those top-notch tutors. Trust me, it was no small investment. Plus, I was always in the room while he was studying to make sure he was staying on task. So, you see, it wasn't a walk in the park for us. We poured our hearts and souls into our child's education, making sure they had every opportunity to succeed. It was way harder on us than it was for him.
Oh, I'm sure that was a lot of work. But I guess in the end, he was the one that earned it, right?
Oh, I'm sure all of this is a bit hard for you to comprehend. Daniel is just going to the local community college, isn't he? The mere thought of it is so hilarious. I can't help but burst into laughter.
Well, that's his backup plan. He didn't really need to apply there. More like just sign up. He applied to other schools too. We haven't heard back from any yet, though.
Oh, really? I wouldn't hold your breath, though. I don't think Daniel will have the same stroke of luck as Lucas. Frankly, I highly doubt that he has what it takes to thrive in the challenging environment of an elite university. Unlike Andy, who is cut above the rest.
I don't follow. What's that supposed to mean?
What do you mean? It's exactly like I said. The last I heard, Daniel was still messing around playing soccer when he should have been studying for college entrance exams, right? I think it's a bit delusional to think he'd be able to get into any schools if all he cared about was kicking a ball around instead of studying. unless the schools he applied to are low-tier party schools that anyone with half a brain could get into.
Excuse me? Why do you think Daniel's so incapable of getting into a good school?
He didn't have any tutors and barely had time to study after wasting time with his little soccer games. Anyone with common sense can put two and two together. LOL. That's why Andy with that stupid team to hit the books. I guess our two families are just worlds apart when it comes to preparing our sons for college.
Daniel is studying just as hard as anyone. Maybe we didn't get him private tutors, but he studied every day after he got home from soccer practice. I'm really confident he'll be able to get into some of the schools he applied to.
Wow, you don't have to pretend anymore. Let's face it, a meathead like your kid would never have the discipline to sit down and study every single night. It's a laughable thought, really. Maybe if they had a team of tutors at their disposal, things would be different. But who are we kidding? A family in poverty like yours could never afford to provide the same level of education support that we've been able to lavish upon our own child. I should have known better. My apologies for even entertaining the idea.
You're being extremely rude. Why are you treating me and my family like we're below you?
Well, hate to burst your bubble, but it's the cold, hard truth. No matter how much you blabber about your kid's so-called soccer talent in high school, it doesn't mean anything in the real world. I hate to break it to you, but kicking a ball around doesn't amount to anything substantial. What truly matters is education and actual results, not some fancy footwork on a glorified field.
I've got to ask, are you jealous that Daniel became captain and Andy didn't? I remember how you thought it was basically a given that Andy was going to get chosen to be captain. Is that why you're being so rude to me?
Who cares about that anymore? All I care about is my son's education. Obviously, you can't say the same thing. Andy is a winner and he's going to stay a winner. We're so lucky we had the finances and time to guide him to success. You guys, on the other hand, will never get the chance to experience what the world is like. You were too stingy when it mattered the most. You pinched pennies when you really should have been paying for private tutors like we did.
Well, it's not like we don't have enough money for private tutors. We just don't think it's necessary, that's all.
Oh, for the love of all that's honest, stop lying. We're supposed to be sisters-in-law, for crying out loud. Can't we have some genuine, open conversations? But hey, let's address the elephant in the room. I really pity poor Daniel. I mean, poor kid didn't have a say in being born into your sorry excuse for a family. And we both know, deep down, that people from impoverished backgrounds never amount to anything in life, except maybe flipping burgers for a living. Oops, my bad. Hope you're not offended, dear. Well, at least that's been my experience with the poor people I've met.
I don't know what's gotten into you, but you're taking things way too far. Calling other people poor doesn't make you above them, you know.
Well, you know what? I couldn't care less. I'm the kind of person who just says things as they are. No sugarcoating or filters. You know me, always keeping it real, right? Honesty is my middle name. And honestly, I wouldn't even know how to lie if I tried. So trust me when I say that Andy is going to be a total rock star once he finishes college. Success is practically written in the stars for him.
Good for Andy then.
Hey, here's an idea. If you're feeling the poverty pinch so much, why not tell Daniel to start working instead of going to college? Maybe with a job, your family won't have to scrape by like a bunch of beggars anymore. Just a thought to lighten the load, sis. Hey Gemma, what's up with the radio silence? You've been MIA on my messages lately. Are you super busy or what? Or were you purposely giving me the cold shoulder? Answer me!
Hey, Barbara. Yeah, things have been pretty hectic for me lately. Been caught up in helping Daniel get ready for college. You know how it goes. My apologies for not being able to respond to your barrage of texts and calls. There just weren't enough hours in the day.
Oh, so Daniel is heading off to a community college, huh? Well, color me impressed. Congratulations, I guess. I'm positively thrilled for him. You know what? I actually owe your son a big thank you. It's thanks to people like him, settling for mediocrity, that truly exceptional individuals like my son can shine even brighter. What a riot.
Well, sorry to disappoint you with the truth, but Daniel is not heading to a community college.
What? So what's the big plan for him then? Oh, hold on a second. Did he actually take my brilliant advice and opt for the sensible path of joining the workforce straight out of high school? Now that's what I call a smart move.
Actually, the other day, when he opened the mail...
What's in the mail? Oh, I know. Could it be that your inbox is flooded with reminders about those unpaid bills your family's dealing with? LOL. Talk about a tough situation.
Well, you got it all wrong. It was an acceptance letter to Harvard.
You're lying. Harvard? Your kid got into Harvard? My Andy. He didn't even get into Harvard. You know what? This joke takes the crown for being the absolute dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Well, you might not believe it, but Daniel got into Harvard. I'm guessing you've heard of Harvard before, right?
Everyone on planet Earth has heard of Harvard. Don't be stupid. It's not, if not, the most prestigious university in the world. Presidents and world leaders have gone to Harvard. How on earth did they let your kid in?
Oh, so you've heard of it. I wasn't sure if you thought it was one of those low-tier party schools that anyone with a half a brain could get into. Yeah, Daniel's been accepted.
There's absolutely no way he really got in. Your kid barely studied at all. He barely cracked open a book, let alone put in any serious study time. How on earth could they have possibly been accepted? And don't even get me started on the lack of tutors. While your kid was busy kicking a ball around, my Andy was grinding away, only to be crushed with rejection. So don't you dare deceive me by claiming that your kid made it in. Do you honestly think I would fall for such a ridiculous lie? Not a chance.
I'm not lying. I know Daniel was spending a lot of his time playing soccer when the other kids were studying and getting ready to apply for colleges. But that didn't stop him from coming home every night and studying his butt off. He barely slept in his bed. In the morning, I'd find him asleep at his desk because he was up all night studying. In fact, soccer helped him take his mind off of all of the studying he had to do. When he wasn't on the soccer field, he always had a textbook in front of him.
How could he have gotten in without any tutors? You can't just expect to get into any Ivy League school studying on your own.
In addition to all the work he got from school, he always asked his teachers for extra work he could do. He had piles of supplementary work he did for extra practice. If he didn't understand anything, he'd always stay after class to ask his teachers for help. He said he'd be late to soccer practice sometimes because he'd been talking to his teachers. Actually, my oldest son went to Harvard too. He told Daniel everything it took for him to get accepted in Harvard. He even had some old university coursework he gave to Daniel so he could get an idea of what the workload would be like. So we really didn't need to go through the trouble of hiring private tutors. We had help all around us.
What? So your other son also got into Harvard? Wow, isn't that just a surprising revelation? I mean, I've never even heard of it, despite being related and all. I'm sure this is just another one of your fabricated tales.
Yes. Is that hard to believe or something? Well, I can understand why you wouldn't know about my other son's acceptance into Harvard. After all, You've never shown any interest in getting to know my family. It seems like you only reached out to me out of the blue because you wanted to have someone to brag about Andy's accomplishments. Am I right?
I never knew that. How could your son have gotten accepted? All Andy's teachers said it would be a real stretch to get into any Ivy League schools.
I guess it comes down to how much he wanted it.
Are you saying he didn't want to get into Harvard? We tried everything we could to get him accepted.
I didn't mean that he didn't want to get in. You know how much Daniel plays soccer, right? Getting into Harvard isn't just about grades. Everyone who applies there is smart. So you have to set yourself apart. Daniel knew that he had to work hard both on and off the field if he wanted to get in. In fact, in his acceptance letter, they specifically commended him about his soccer experience and for being captain. We've been looking into studying abroad through Harvard in Spain and England, so he can advance his soccer career and still get a proper education. A lot of professional players have gone to those universities. Wouldn't it be great if he could say he used to be on the same team as a pro soccer player? That's what really kept him motivated this whole time.
You're telling me soccer was the reason for all of this? That's so stupid. No way Andy would lose his chance to get into Harvard over such a stupid reason.
The key to studying hard is having the right motivation. I'm sure this must all be coming as a shock for you. The child from a poor family getting into such an elite school, especially when your son got rejected. But like you said, the only thing that matters in the world are education and results.
You're really getting on my nerves. Getting into an elite school means nothing if you can't keep up with the coursework. I bet your kid is going to end up dropping out. It's just a matter of time before reality comes crashing down.
I don't think that's going to happen. On the other hand, what about Andy? College is a lot different from high school. Classes are earlier and way more difficult. Will he be able to handle all of that without his mommy and daddy to help him like now? I've actually heard from Daniel that Andy's constantly falling asleep in class and going to the nurse's office because he's always so worn out from studying. I wonder if he'll be able to handle the college coursework.
I don't need you to worry about my son. Our son is a genius. He'll be able to do it no problem. I'll try to find him some tutors in the state he'll be going to school in. There's nothing that money can't fix when it comes to education. Well, naturally, my family is financially well off enough to secure a bright future for Andy. He's got absolutely nothing to worry about in that department.
Is that what Andy wants or what you want?
Hey, what's that supposed to mean?
Honestly, it seems like all this time you've been more focused on projecting your desires onto Andy, without ever taking the time to sit down and have a genuine heart-to-heart conversation with him. Have you ever stopped to ask him what he truly wants for his own future? We're talking about Andy's life here, not your life. You can't continue dictating his every move. It's about time you gave him the freedom to make his own choices.
Hey, don't you dare speak as if you know more about my son than I do. I am his mother, and I know what's best for him. Period.
Andy promised me not to say anything about this. But the day Andy left the soccer team, he came over to our house. He was in tears, saying he didn't want to quit the soccer team.
He said that? Why?
He said, "If I have to quit the team to study, then I don't want to study at all." He told me that if he said that to you, he was afraid you'd kick him out of the house. Although I could barely understand what he was saying since he was crying so hard.
I can't believe it.
Daniel was really upset about it too. He couldn't believe that Andy had to leave the team to study more. He said Andy was so talented, and if he didn't play, all the talent would be going to waste. All Daniel wanted was to play side by side with Andy in their final season together.
Well, I am at a loss for words. I didn't expect that my son would be so upset. I was only trying to scare him when I mentioned kicking him out of the house if he didn't study. I thought it would give him a push, some motivation, you know?
Barbara, I get it. I know you want the best for your son. But taking away their dreams and forcing them to do what you want is not the right way to go about it. Forcing him to study and not letting him do the things he wants? Do you really think that's what's best for him? Or are you using him as a way to lie to yourself and pretend like you're a caring mother?
I would never. I do care about him, and I love him very much.
Andy was falling asleep in class and going to the nurse because you forced him to study so much. You've been pushing him too hard. If something doesn't change, he's going to end up in the hospital. Is that what you want to happen?
Well, of course not. Nothing's more important to me than Andy.
That's what I thought. There's nothing more important than your own child. That's why you should listen to him and what he wants. Do what you can to make his dreams come true, not just your dreams for him to come true. Of course, education is important, but it's not all that's important. You need to give him more freedom to be the person he wants to be.
I guess you're right. I apologized for the way I was speaking to you. You've opened my eyes a lot. I'll talk to Andy.
I think that's the best thing to do. I'm really rooting for you two. After our conversation, Barbara and Andy had a long talk about college. They ultimately concluded that it would be in Andy's best interest to turn down some of the acceptances from prestigious institutions in favor of a school that aligned more closely with his personal aspirations. And it seems like they made the right call. Andy is absolutely thriving in his newfound college life. He even joined a soccer team, reigniting his passion for the sport. When I shared this exciting news with Daniel, he felt an immense sense of relief, knowing that his cousin was living the life he truly wanted. Needless to say, I share that same relief. It's heartwarming to see Andy flourishing in an environment that suits him so well. And the most incredible thing of all is being able to witness the reunion of Andy and Daniel on the soccer field again. Barbara, in a surprising turn of events, seemed to have had a moment of realization. She took the initiative to personally apologize to me for all the hurtful things she had said in the past. It was a genuine act of remorse, and it meant a lot to me. We both agreed to let bygones be bygones and embrace a fresh start.